Please bear with me. I'm not much of a public speaker guy, so I'll just wing it here. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our first annual Community Overdose Awareness Candlelight Vigil. Thank you so much for joining us in our effort to combat addiction in our community, as well to remember those who we have lost, to recognize those in recovery, and to support those in need of a helping hand. It's my pleasure to stand here tonight in front of you to show you that our community really does care. Before we get started, I wanted to mention we have a list of names of people who have lost their battle with addiction, which will be read later this evening. If you have a loved one and have not already given us their name, please come forward to the table to my left, which is over there, to add them. We would be honored to mention any name brought forward to us. I see many familiar faces out there in the crowd. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Scott McDonald. I grew up in Wilder. I went to Harvard schools. I now run a business here in town. This is my community, and I'm proud to be a part of it. What brings me here tonight? On one of my sleepless nights, I was scrolling through Facebook. I saw someone make a comment about a possible candlelight vigil. In light of all of our recent overdose deaths in our community, I made the comment that I would be happy to try to facilitate it. The following day, I was at a Critters Crusade fundraising event, and I mentioned it to the board members over breakfast. They agreed that it was a great idea and would be most suitable on International Overdose Awareness Day. With only 9 days to plan all of this, I got right to work last Monday morning. I contacted many local organizations and let them know what my idea was. I invited them to a meeting later the same day. At about 7 p.m., my dream came to reality. When people from many different organizations showed up together, we came up with a plan. Throughout the week, and many phone calls, emails, text messages, and such, here we are standing together as a community. We are all here tonight to recognize International Overdose Awareness Day. International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event held on August 31st each year. It aims to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths. It also acknowledges the grief felt by families and friends remembering those who have met with death or permanent injury as a result of drug overdose. Overdose Day spreads the message that the tragedy of overdose death is preventable. Numerous organizations and members of the community have contributed to the success of this event. I can't thank you all enough for your sorry about that too. Your tireless efforts in helping to organize this on such a short notice. There are too many names for me to acknowledge them right now. I've only been given so much time to speak. You can find a complete list of all of those who've helped. All of those that have helped at the surrounding tables. I apologize if we've missed anyone. It certainly was not intentional. Our hope is that everyone leaves here tonight knowing who your local resources are and where you can turn to find help. My time is up, so I'll turn it over to Ken and Sheila.
Check. Not check. My name is Ken Gardner. I am a recovering drug addict. And I wrote this song from my point of view, my perspective, if you will, on kind of what I went through and kind of how I kind of managed to get back to somewhat of a normal life. Joe. Addiction, compulsive need for and the use of a habit-forming substance characterized by tolerance and a well-defined psychological and physiological symptoms upon withdrawal.
Persistent, compulsive use of a substance known by the user to be harmful.
At the base of faith, on the river of despair, in the valley of the shadow of death, I saw smoke when I took that breath. I lost hope when I took that breath. Just my soul was nothing left. Heart pounding, that astounding breath is coming out my chest. This is the best hit I done took yet, but soon I forget. One is too many, 1,000's never enough. And no matter how much I smoke, I never will catch up. Leveling out with a blunt or a pill and a 40 of the steel. I just gotta keep it real. Running away from the past or what ifs or regrets. Thinking on some better days, puffing on a cigarette. This has gotta be a test. My destiny's not this. In the belly of the beast, in the bowels of his pit, all alone in the dark, nothing's worse than this. Except not knowing what your purpose is. It's not worth it, kid. If you had to give it up, at some point you had enough. At the bottom looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough, at the bottom looking up. And I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Please help. It's darkest before light, the days ahead they fill with fright. But if you don't do it right, you know you got to get this right. Everything you wanted, hoped, or ever wished for could be within your grasp. Keep on hoping just a bit more. First step is the hardest, so many hesitate, admit it. We have an issue causes us to procrastinate. The monkey on your back can turn into a great big. The heavier it gets, the harder it is to escape. But you gotta find a way, do whatever that it takes. You are not alone, there are others sharing similar fates. No way to get away, take it for free. The past was the only way. At least for me, I say. Along the way, I thank the man upstairs for every person in my life today. I feel I have the right to say, it is not your life to play. It's a present gift that we have to cherish each and every day. If you really give it up, if you had to give it up, you had enough at the bottom looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough, at the bottom looking up. And I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Please help me.
Everybody knows someone who's been affected by drug abuse in some fashion. From rehabs, incarcerations, death. Sad statistics. And you can't change the past, but you can save your future. It's your choice.
Would you really give it up if you had to give it up? Reached the point you had enough, at the bottom looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. How can me to give it up? I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough, at the bottom looking up, and I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Could you really give it up if you had to give it up? Reached the point you had enough, at the bottom looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough, at the bottom looking up, and I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Please help me.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
The courage to change the things I know I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, one moment at a time, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for being here tonight. This portion, we're going to introduce some of the community supports that the Upper Valley has for people struggling with addiction and those in recovery. Because there's such shame and stigma that comes with addiction, oftentimes it's not known what is available. I grew up in West Lebanon. I live in Hartford now, so addiction is personal to me because I'm seeing my community affected by it. But I'm also very lucky that I get to go to work 5 days a week and work at Valley Vista, which is an inpatient treatment center, a half hour up the highway, up 91 in Bradford, Vermont, where I get to see people who come into treatment scared, feeling alone, and feeling ashamed. And as they work their way through their treatment, I get to see them discover the person that they're meant to be. It is an honor for me to be able to do that every day. And so if you have a loved one who is struggling with addiction and you believe that they need inpatient treatment, we are there. We have space for women, for men, and for adolescents. And it's a 21 to 30 day program. I'd like it to be longer. Insurances don't want it to be longer. So please, there's a table off to my left with information about Valley Vista. I welcome you to come and take a brochure. Even if you don't know somebody right now, you may know somebody in the future. And it's a good thing to have kept tucked away in case there is a need. Thank you all so much for coming out here tonight. And I was also asked to remind you that there's candles and ribbons at the Critters Crusade table. So make sure you each have a candle for our vigil that will happen in a little bit. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sheila, and I want to start by saying that I'm a woman in long-term recovery. And I want to say that out loud because I'm not ashamed. This thing is making noise. Do what? Closer. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. What that means to me is I look out and I see people who care, which is the most important thing that we can offer people who have addiction issues. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do at the Second Wind Foundation. We operate the Upper Valley Turning Point, which is a peer recovery center. You can drop in any day of the week. It's open. If you need help, you can come and you can talk to one of the staff, and we will try to guide you to get the help that you need. We have a group called Wits End on Monday nights at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7:30, and that group is for parents or guardians or family members who have an adolescent or young adult that is experiencing harmful substance use. We also operate Willow Grove, transitional housing for women in recovery. And there are a lot of other things that we do sort of on a smaller scale. But so we are there. If you need help, if you know someone who needs help, just call. Our information booth is also over to my left. So anyhow, I'm very glad to be here, to be part of this, and I'm really excited to hear what other folks have to say. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia Marab and I work for the health department. I'm noticing that people are coming up with candles for memories of loved ones who have lost. So please feel free to come over to make a bag to light a candle for someone. If you have lost someone, I'm touched that we are all together tonight to honor those who have gone and to honor our grief at that passing. Mostly what I do with the health department is support local organizations that are working on substance abuse prevention. And with this issue about opiates, one thing we're focusing on is that in terms of prescription drug misuse, which is often an unintentional entryway into heroin use, is that most folks are getting drugs from their friends and families' medicine cabinets. So In an attempt to not have that be so easy, we now have a drop box at the Hartford Police Department where people can drop their meds. It seems like a really simplistic answer to a really complex problem, but really reducing excess can be really helpful for someone who's starting with an addiction to not progressing it further. So there's some information over there. There's also a message from Dr. Harry Chen, who's the head of the health department, and it's talking about how to be safe if you are using, to not use alone, to be sure that there's someone with naloxone there. If it's strong, to not use so much. And other messages, if you are using, how to stay safe and prevent more overdoses. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hilda. I'm with Headrest, and some of you might know, although it's based in Lebanon, it serves a whole Upper Valley community. And since 1971, there's been somebody on the phone 24/7. So the main thing I think for this group tonight is to know that you can call 448-4400 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and talk to somebody about whatever question you may have, or if you're feeling lonely, despondent, sad, or if you have a friend who's depressed and suicidal and you don't know how to help them, that's a number they can call. We also can help with substance abuse issues. It's a huge part of our mission, but I think for tonight the main thing is there's a lot of programs out there, but you can't call them 24/7. You can call Headrest 24/7, 448-4400. These little these little cards, they have a sun on it. They'll be scattered around, so that'll be a reminder. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's really encouraging to see so many people this concerned.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Phil Caston. I'm the Chief of Police with the Hartford Police Department. It's very encouraging to see each of you here tonight. And as I made my way over toward the stage this evening, I saw many folks that I've met that have lost a loved one or in some way been touched or hurt by addiction. And I want you to know and understand, those of you that I've spoken with before now, and I want to remind you and those that I've not met, our department, our personnel, we weep with you and we share your concern. Please know and understand that. I often get asked, what do the Hartford Police know about drugs, about heroin, about addiction in our community? And they asked me if I would come out and speak with you about that tonight, and that's why I'm here. You want to know what the Hartford Police know? Drug addiction, especially heroin or opioid addiction, is a complex disease. It's left a trail of victims that knows no race, no religion, no sexual preference, no socioeconomic boundaries, families everywhere in our town, in our region, and across our country have been impacted by addiction in one way or another. Many of you are here tonight. As I stand here in August of 2016, the overdoses that have occurred in the town of Hartford are actually down from what they were this very same time last year. 26 over the 29 that we had. Still 26 too many. But there's some things that concern me, and I think you need to be aware of. During this same time period, we've seen an increase in heroin overdoses. They've gone from 5 last year at the same time to 9 this year. And while we experienced 4 fatalities this time last year and only 3 this year, our fatalities related to heroin use are up. They've gone from 1 to 3. Forgive me, I speak a little loud. Could probably do without the microphone. I get asked a lot of times when I go and speak about why people use drugs, why do they use heroin? Most folks, unless you've been impacted, unless you work with it, you do not understand that addiction is a medical illness. It is a medical problem. And for the police, we can't arrest our way out of a problem that we've behaved our way into. Drugs create behavioral changes. They create changes to a person's brain, and the choices are not easily made. Those that are here and are recovering tonight from one type of addiction, and whether it's heroin abuse or another opioid, it could be alcoholism or any other abuse or addiction, understand this reality, and certainly the families that are around them do. Quitting always requires more than just good intentions. And I can assure you that the draw of a heroin addiction, of an opioid addiction, requires far more than good intentions on the part of the user. I am here to tell you that firsthand tonight. I can tell you that my police officers and our investigators and our paramedics who have gone out on these overdoses that I've told you about here tonight and met with the families and met with the folks that are the victim of an addiction understand that. The National Institute of Health, they've just updated their definition of the addiction this year. They call it a chronic disease characterized by drug seeking and use that is compulsive, difficult to control, despite harmful consequences. Has everyone heard about fentanyl? Is there anyone that's not? I don't think so. It's been very widely reported. It takes a regular, or what would have been the normal dose of heroin, and makes it 50 times stronger. And now we're learning that they're cutting heroin and other things, heroin with things other than fentanyl. We don't know what they're using. You don't know what they're using. It is absolutely dangerous. If you did not get it from a pharmacy, you shouldn't be taking it. The initial decision, yes, to take drugs is voluntary, and it starts out as a voluntary process. But repeated drug use, as I said, it leads to changes in a person's thoughts, their actions, and certainly their habits, and their urges, and it makes it difficult for them to resist. And it's very, very important for family and friends and neighbors to understand this. This is our greatest strength in Hartford and in our region. We are a tight community of good neighbors, strong families, but it's also our greatest weakness. I want to remind everyone, in 2013, Vermont passed the enhanced 911 Good Samaritan Act. It's not the intention of the state of Vermont, and it's not the intention of the Hartford Police Department to arrest, prosecute folks that are suffering from an addiction and are using drugs. It's not the intent of the law. It is there to protect someone that is the victim of an overdose from criminal prosecution, someone that is a witness and picks up the phone and calls 911. You're going to hear a lot of messages. If you have overdosed, if you think someone is overdosing, you're experiencing an overdose, call 911. Our paramedics are some of the best in this country. Our police are some of the best, and they will be there for you. They will help you. And look around you tonight. You've heard people before me. There'll be more behind me. They are here to help you. Our job is to help folks that are suffering from an addiction get the assistance that they need. It is a medical problem. One of the other concerns as we go forward, and as I spoke with two of my investigators, Sergeant Scott Moody and Detective Christina Adams, who have been a tremendous help to me this week in stepping in and working with the great folks that have organized this event. We talked, and one of our greatest concerns, 3 of the last 4 overdoses, fatal overdoses that our department has investigated have involved people that have had treatment or been in some type of abstinence treatment where they have come off of their drugs and gone a period, usually about 21 days, I think you heard earlier, is what the insurance companies pay for. So they've been away from and stopped using for a period of time, and then they come back to the community. And this is where I said our greatest strength is our greatest weakness. The temptations are still there. And whether it's because insurance does not cover a long-term stay, which most insurances will not cover past the 21 days, whether it's because there's a lack of long-term treatment bed space, which we have here in our region. We are struggling for long-term treatment space. I encourage you to speak with your elected leaders about that. Or we just need to recognize that addiction is something that has a high incidence of relapse. When you are an addict and you are recovering, it is an ongoing process. Recovering from addiction is an ongoing process. It takes family, it takes friends, and it takes neighbors to help them stay strong, to keep them visiting and seeing with their doctors. Their needs change. You have to adjust the treatment plan over time. And those first few weeks, those first few months are some of the most vulnerable. We are concerned. 3 of the last 4 fatalities that we have experienced here in the town of Hartford have involved people that have been through some level of treatment, where they have abstained from the use of drugs. They've been able to detoxify to a certain point and abstain from the use. They are vulnerable when they come back to your community, come back to your home. It's not always about insurance, and this goes back to where some folks have a difficult time understanding why people are addicted to drugs. We have not had an overdose in the last 2 years of someone under the age of 21. These are adults. They're fathers, they're mothers, and yes, sons and daughters, their grandmothers, grandfathers. They have responsibilities, and it's very difficult for them to step away and step into a treatment program. It's very, very important that friends, neighbors, and family, who will be the first to notice an addiction, but they're going to be not only the first line of defense, but they're going to be the ongoing and last line of defense. Please understand, we are not here to arrest and prosecute users. We are here to support you. We will work, and we're committed to working not only with our community, but all the partners that are here to go and curb the demand for drugs and illicit drugs in our community. And we do that by helping folks get healthy. We are committed to keeping our community safe and healthy, and we ask you to join us in doing that. You've heard a little bit, just briefly a short time ago, we do accept prescription drugs for disposal. Prescription drugs start the process sometimes they don't, sometimes it's alcohol. 2/3 of all of our overdoses have the presence of alcohol, almost half have the presence of marijuana. There are other drugs that are around and present when this happens. Please understand, we're here to support you. Please call on us for help. You are protected under the Good Samaritan law. If you call 911 because you are suffering from an overdose, you believe you're suffering from an overdose, you need medical assistance, or you're witnessing someone and you're there to help them, it is not worth losing another life. Does everyone agree? Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Laura Byrne, and I'm with the HIV/HCV Resource Center, which is the agency formerly known as ACORN. And one of the things we do is, since 2006 actually, is run a syringe exchange. And we're lucky to partner with Good Neighbor Health Clinic, which is the site of our exchange. And it meets twice a week in the afternoons. And I work with a lot of people who are struggling a lot. And one of the things that we're very passionate about right now is overdose prevention. So I try to encourage people to take Narcan, naloxone. It's the only thing that works in the event of what might be a fatal overdose. Putting ice on somebody or shaking them or putting them in the bathtub, that doesn't work if there's going to be a fatal overdose. Naloxone binds with the brain receptors. It knocks the opioids off the receptors and it wakes people up. So it's critical that people that are using these strong drugs have access to naloxone. And I have some actually here tonight. I'm over there at that table, so if you're interested, if you have a family member or if you're using, or it's just great to have. It's free. It comes with a maybe 2-minute training. It's a very short training. It's a very easy to administer nasal spray. The other thing I wanted to mention is that at our syringe exchange, we offer free hepatitis and HIV testing and also referrals to treatment. So if you know people that are using that don't take advantage of the syringe exchange, please try to encourage them to come and meet with us. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Lamore, and I'm not a public speaker, so I'm going to try to do this the best I can. There was a poem that was presented, and I was asked to read it. I Know Someone, written by Natalie Peterson. I know someone out there that's trying on the word addict for the first time. I know someone that is struggling to unpack the mayhem of their youth. I know there are families trying to figure out the next right thing to do. There's no right way to survive this, just the path you choose. The next 12 steps you take. This is for those who don't turn their backs on the addicts. Won't forget the pain that led to benders in denial. I know someone that needs this reminder. You are not alone. You are a fighter, a flickering candle, the last light before pitch black, a song sung leading them back home, a thinning river just before the pour into the ocean. You are what miracles are made from, what communities are made from. Waist deep in troubled water, but clinging to hope. Addiction dismantles the way we love, casts folks aside, and deems them unlovable. But we must love in the face of this. We must love them back to whole. Fill them with a reminder when it didn't hurt so much. Nothing is fair about addiction. I know someone with a fistful of recovery chips, grateful for a family that never let go, sharing stories of a journey they survived because they survived too. And you can too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brianna. I'm an addict. I've been clean since June 4th, 2014. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So, when I was 15, I smoked marijuana, I drank, but I started doing like Percocets, and it escalated to methadone and Xanax, and I was just, I was like, hey, I'm young, it's just fun, right? It's nothing serious. So I moved to White River when I was 17. People ask me, like, well, what made you decide to do a bag of heroin for your first time? And to this day, I honestly don't have an answer. I really don't know. But I did. And it was over from there. Let's see. I tried to go through treatment, went to Valley Vista, didn't take it seriously. I was arrested. My house was raided. My little brother was taken out of my mom's home because of my actions. And then I got clean for like 3 weeks. And I was so proud of myself. Don't know what happened. Don't know if it was boredom or anxiety, but I was like, hey, brilliant idea. I'm going to go get high. Well, I overdosed. And my best friend James, luckily him and another good friend of mine were at my house, and they literally saved my life. They called the ambulance. I had Narcan administered to me, and I got out of the hospital, and I went home, and I did more heroin. It's not awful. Like, looking back on it, I'm just like, what was I doing, you know? 2 days after that, I was in jail, and I did 10 months. And that was the beginning of my road to recovery. First couple months I was there, I was like, can't wait to get out and get high, you know? I'll get around it, probation, it's fine. And then after about 3 months in there, my cellmate, who's also from this area, is a really good friend of mine, we started really talking about it. We were just like, there's more to life. Like, I'm 21 years old. She's also 21. And it's just, you really look at the bigger picture. But only once you've hit, like, your rock bottom. Like, that was my rock bottom. And now I'm stable. And I just want anybody struggling with it to know that there are so many people. Like, look at all of you here. Like, look at everybody here. It's amazing. Like, there are so many people there to support you if you're struggling. And you're not alone. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you for listening to my brief story. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name's Emily Duff. I'm a recovery coach in the Upper Valley. Sorry. I asked a really close friend of mine if she would be willing to write a poem. She's still suffering from addiction, and I hope that she gets the treatment that she deserves. Just stop, that's what they say. If I could quit you, I would. I would have, after you took my son from me, I would have after you killed my best friend. I would have after you stole my innocence, but you are intoxicating. You control my soul, and I love you. You rush through my veins as fast as a bolt of lightning, and I forget why I hate you. Because of all those reasons disappear. What is pain? What is loneliness? What is anger? I'm no longer numb to you. I become dumb to you. For you have taken control of me. My heart races, my knees become weak, my palms sweaty. I'm excited you're inside me. Because when you're with me, my son is in my arms, my best friend is alive. But me, I'm still broken. You are the devil and I am your slave, so I'll come running when you call my name. I just want to say that if you know somebody or if you are somebody, please reach out. There is help, there is support. This is very serious and too many people are dying from this and we need all of your support, and I thank every one of you for coming out here.
That was my daughter. So I gotta gather myself for a second. Hi, my name is Sherry Breyer. I'm a mother, daughter, partner, sister, friend. I'm an aunt, a grandmother, and I'm a person in recovery from an addiction from prescription medications, mainly opiates and benzodiazepines. My active addiction spanned over a period of 20 years of my life. I believe I was born with a genetic predisposition to addiction, as I come from a family with a long history of drug and alcohol abuse. I was raised in the Upper Valley, in Lebanon, and then in Etna, New Hampshire. My parents were very hardworking and did the best they could to raise myself and my 3 brothers to be respectful, hardworking, family-oriented, caring, and loving individuals. From the time I can remember, I've always loved people, and all I ever really wanted to be was a mother and a person who helped others. I never dreamed or even thought of the possibility as a teenager or young adult that the disease of addiction would grab a hold of me, turn me into a person I didn't recognize or even know, and that it would change my life in so many destructive and harmful ways that it still amazes me today that I'm even here to share it. I never asked for it. I never wanted it. I was ashamed and guilt-ridden because of it, and I didn't know how to stop it. And I died on 3 separate occasions and was brought back to it. I was lucky for the fact that each time I overdosed, I was not alone, help was there, and Narcan was available. On the first occasion, I OD'd in a counselor's office and woke up on a gurney with medical personnel, cutting my clothes off because I had lost all of my bodily fluids, and I had no idea what had happened. The second time, a doctor overdosed me on morphine and fentanyl, and I woke up with 15 to 20 doctors and nurses clapping because they didn't think I was going to make it. Each time this happened, I was put in the ICU overnight and then, once stabilized, sent back out the door with no understanding of the severity of what had just happened to me, with no tools or support to get myself help, and right back into the arms of my addiction. I felt like I was such a waste of life, that I didn't matter or mean anything at all. I never realized what this was doing to the people who loved me the most, my parents, family, and especially my children. I had pushed them all away and kept myself in total isolation, barely coming up for air most days. I couldn't face the destruction this disease had done to me or my life. All I knew was that if I was in oblivion, I didn't have to feel anything, and I didn't. Not joy nor happiness, not sadness or fear, not love or hate. I was a shell of the person I had once strived so hard to be. It wasn't until 2004, in the breakup of my second marriage, that I started to want something more for myself and the people who cared about me and needed me. I went to treatment and heard about Suboxone. I was able to find a doctor who would treat me when I came home, and then began the long and treacherous journey of medication-assisted treatment. I didn't know at the time that although sometimes it was harm reduction for me, and I could do well, but for my addictive brain, this medication kept my disease alive. I was constantly in a revolving door of doing well and relapsing. By this time, I had also been in the legal system for years and would be in and out of jail several times again. It wasn't until 2013, sitting in a jail cell, finding out over a 15-minute phone call with my daughter that I was going to be a grandmother for the first time, and realizing I was the oldest person in jail, that I realized I needed to take some drastic measures to change my life, or nothing was ever going to be any different. And I did not want to die and leave my loved ones as an active addict. It was then that I finally decided to fight that demon harder than I ever had and turn my life around. Many years were gone, but I knew I had many more in front of me, that I could be the person I had always wanted to be. Last year, after 11 years of Suboxone therapy, I decided to come off it and switch to naltrexone, which is the pill form of Vivitrol. It is a blocker without the opiate component of Suboxone. This turned out to be the miracle I had needed, to give my brain time to heal and start really getting my life back on track. In November, I became a recovery coach, and I started speaking publicly about my addiction in hopes to make others aware, to bring hope, reduce stigma, and to show that I am not ashamed of who I am or who I was. It was never my fault. My brain has a disease, and I fight it every day. In March, I became a grandmother for the second time, and 3 weeks later, I realized I hadn't taken the naloxone in that time, and I've been medication-free ever since. After 16 years of being in the legal system, I've been free of that for 18 months. I have my family back, I have friends, and I help people and give back every chance I get. I was the addict who was told it'll probably never get any better than this, but who stood up and I fought to be the best I can be in the 24 hours that I'm given today. I have been institutionalized, jailed, I've died and come back. I am a survivor, and anyone struggling with the same disease can be a survivor as well. I was also asked to read a poem, and this was written by my daughter, who suffers from the disease of addiction. I'm going to try to get through it as best I can. I can make you warm and your mind set free. The panic, anxiety, sweaty hands, and worries will be gone. It will be your best friend, the boy told her. You'll never be alone or have a care in the world. If you just try a little, I promise you'll have a friend. Okay, she says, I will try just a little. You promise I will have a friend and never be alone? Yes, the boy told her as he handed a needle in a bag. The girl sat down, put it in her arm, and released the belt. As her veins got warm and her heart rate slowed down, her mind went clear. The panic and anxiety went away as well, just like the boy told her. It feels like Christmas morning. I have never felt so alive. I want more, I need more. Can you get me more? The girl asks the boy. The boy was right. I had a new best friend. I was never alone anymore. My anxiety was gone. I felt like I could be anything I wanted to be or do anything I wanted to do. I didn't have my anxiety stopping me anymore. I turned to my best friend for everything. If I was having a bad day, I had my friend. If I was having suicidal thoughts or I was angry, I had my friend. Through breakups, losing jobs, and even on good days, I had my friend. But the boy never told me that when I was ready to end my friendship, it wouldn't be that easy. The first time I tried to let go of my friend, I felt like I was dying. I woke up with the cold sweats, my body shaking, stomach in knots. It felt like the flu times 100. Vomiting, cold chills, and anxiety worse than ever before. My best friend became my worst enemy overnight. He told me that my best friend would become a part of me, that letting go would feel impossible. My best friend became a monster, a nightmare that came to life, taking my soul and changing my life forever. The friend I thought I had made made me homeless, made me weak, took my money and all my other friends away. My family doesn't trust me, and I can't hold a job. I cry, pleading out for help. I can't look at myself most days for the person I am today. This friend has a hold on me like the plague. I hate you for killing my friends. I love you for making me numb. I hate you for making me steal. I love you for the feeling of Christmas morning. I hate you for destroying who I am and taking control. But most of all, I hate you for the fact that I just can't let you go.
Hi everyone, I'm Annika and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I will start out by saying I have 2 different sobriety dates. On September 3rd, I will have 9 months sober from drugs, and on September 4th, I will have 6 months sober from alcohol. Thank you. My use started at a pretty young age with drinking and smoking weed, and it escalated pretty quickly. Every time I picked up a drug, it was because there was some type of loss or grief that I had to deal with in my life. I became addicted to Percocet first, and it was after 2 of my different friends had died. And I just didn't want to feel the pain anymore, and I couldn't handle it. And within 6 months, my house was raided. And 5 days later, I lost custody of my son. I tried to stay clean for a really long time. I made it quite a while because I was trying to get custody of my son back, but I just wasn't ready to stay sober. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. I ended up I signed adoption over last November, and I haven't seen my son in almost a year. Over a year, actually. I relapsed after trying to get custody back of my son and battling with DCF. And when I relapsed, instead of Percocet, the next time it was heroin. And within a week, I was shooting up, and I never thought I would get there. I always saw people doing it, and I said I never would. And I never realized that it was going to take such a hold of me that it did. It brought me down such a bad path that I just remember not willingly asking to die, but I was ready to die at that point because I just didn't want to feel the way I did anymore. I was ashamed of who I was. I was ashamed of what I had done to everyone around me, and I was ashamed of the way I was living. I finally, after 6 or 7 months of IV use, I called my mom, who came up here earlier and talked for the Turning Point, Sheila. I called her December 4th of last year, and she took me to detox. And I can honestly say that I'm luckier than a lot of people, because since she is in long-term recovery, I knew where to go, and I wasn't afraid, as some people would be, to get help. The hardest part I've had trying to stay sober is the stigma around drug use in general. I hear it when my house was raided and there were articles all over Facebook. My neighbors, my friends, other people's parents, they were reposting the article saying, I hope that her and her son's father sit in jail. They don't deserve to be parents anyways. They just, anything they could, because people don't understand that when they say those types of things, that it's not gonna help addicts at all. Every time I heard something like that, my self-esteem went lower and lower, because I thought people are always gonna think of me this way. No, it's never gonna get better. Why? What's the point? Why should I? What's the point of staying sober if no one's gonna care anyways? It's gotten a lot easier since then, but I still see it every day. Even though I'm 9 months sober, I see people I used to use with who their mugshot ends up on Facebook or on the police department webpage, and people just shame them to no end, or other people who are losing custody of their kids and people still shame them. And those people that are using, it's not their fault. We don't choose to put a needle in our arm every day because we want to. It's because of the fact that we have to. There's a chemical imbalance in our brains. Most people think that, oh, it's your choice to use, but in reality, it's not. I think it was in 2013, Dr. Gabor Mate did a study, and it's actually a proven fact that there's a chemical imbalance which makes it so addicts, when they're at a young age, whether they went through trauma or didn't get attention they needed, they're always searching for some type of release, no matter what it is. And so, no matter what it may be, something really traumatic or not traumatic, it's not our fault. I just stress that to no end, because it bothers me so badly when I hear people shaming people. It was your decision, just stop. You can't just stop. And I don't want to have to be afraid to speak about who I am. It took me, I just moved back here from Plymouth, New Hampshire about 6 months ago, and it took me 5 months to get a job, because when I went to apply to jobs, I had to tell them I can't work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I'm dealing with court stuff, and I live in a sober house. So I am mandated to go to certain meetings, and I have to go to AA and NA meetings every day. And when people asked me why I had to take those days off, and I had to tell them, oh, well, I live in a sober house and I have court because I'm facing a felony charge, no one would hire me. And luckily, I finally found some place that would, but the fact that I'm scared on a daily basis to tell people what I've overcome because of the judgmental things that they think or say really bothers me. And with all the deaths and overdoses recently, I don't want anyone to have to feel afraid to ask for help. I don't want mothers to be afraid to go to rehab because they think they're gonna lose custody of their kids like I did. I don't want people to have to feel scared if their friend is overdosing on the floor because they think they're gonna get arrested. I don't want to be afraid to tell people what I'm going through, because I am a recovering addict and I'm not ashamed, and no one else should be either. Thank you.
Wow, that was some pretty powerful stuff. When I first envisioned this, I had no idea that so many people could, in so little time, accomplish what we did tonight. I can't thank you all enough for joining us, and hope you leave here knowing that your community cares. I'd like to say a special thank you to a few people. We had a lot of help through this. A lot of community members, a lot of organizations. So here they are. Hartford Parks and Recreation, Hartford Emergency Services, Critters Crusade, Valley Vista, Hartford Community Coalition, the HIV/HCV Resource Center, Vermont Department of Health, Ken and Sheila, our staff musicians, Good Neighbor Health Clinic, Turning Point and Second Wind Foundation, Hypertherm, the recovery coaches from All Together, which you just saw, Pastor Paul Voltmer, Light Show Joe, Fascination Woodland Spa, and so many people, just unbelievable amounts of people who have come forward to make things, to share information, to put the word out. It's been huge. A lot of community members have been in on this. There are way too many to individually name, but you know who you are. And most of all, my wife Desiree and my mother Stacy for doing whatever was needed and putting up with me these last 9 days. I hope to see you all next year.
Adam Hebert, 26, Leominster, Massachusetts. Angela Cavuto, 23, Ashburnham, Massachusetts. Artem Vovedin, 26, Ohio. Barry Adams, 29, White River Junction, Vermont. Brad Gino, 30, Seatucket, New York. Brian Sandville, 28, White River Junction, Vermont. Chardonnay Lynn Colonies, 18, Canaan, New Hampshire. Clayton John Selly, 37, Elevith, Minnesota. Christopher Critter Scott Smith, 21, White River Junction, Vermont. Crystal Wyman, Rochester, New York. Damian Pendergrast, 38, Springfield, Massachusetts. Dan Ingalls, 52, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Dane DeBoer, 33, Cornish, New Hampshire. Daniel J. Beaton, Jr., 27, Stockton Springs, Maine. Danny Dewfield, 26, Grafton, New Hampshire. David Cope, 30, Montclair, New Jersey. Desiree Shepard, 33, Boston, Massachusetts. Donald Farnham, 30, Randolph, Vermont. Doug Bassett, 22, Bradford, Vermont. E.J. Allen, 34, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Evan Richards, 23, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Frank Schneider, 30, Barry, Vermont. Garrett Dunlap, 24, Bradenton, Florida. Gilbert Erickson, 26, Melrose, Massachusetts. Heath Lashway, 36, White River Junction, Vermont. Jacob Phelps, 24, Leominster, Massachusetts. Jai Koval, 33, Wilder, Vermont. Jared Brooks, 30, Randolph, Vermont. Jerry Colbeth, 40, Morrisville, Vermont. Jesse Boardman, 26, Chelsea, Vermont. Jimmy McDowell, 26, Grafton, New Hampshire. Jonathan Midler, 40, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Keith LaFlamme, 43, Meriden, New Hampshire. Kurt Wyman, 20, Enfield, New Hampshire. Lisa Damaris, 40, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Lisa Soul, 32, White River Junction, Vermont. Lourdes Watson Carter, 34, Standish, Maine. Marcus Smith, 34, Groton, Vermont. Michael Porter Hodgson, 39, Swanton, Vermont. Rebecca Paul, 25, Canaan, New Hampshire. Richard Soares Jr., 25, Sharon, Vermont. Rick McEwen, 38, Hartford, Vermont. Robert Shine, 42, Manchester, New Hampshire. Robert Mullen, Tunbridge, Vermont. Sarah Wiggins, 41, Concord, New Hampshire. Shelby Sampson, 23, Manchester, New Hampshire. Sparky DiAgostino Jr., 48, Bristol, Connecticut. Spencer Carey, 25, Rutland, Vermont. Stephen Nelson, 51, Barry, Vermont. Stephen Ledoux, 27, West Fairleigh, Vermont. Sybil Morgan, 36, Manchester, New Hampshire. Tanita Landry, 31, Salem, New Hampshire. Toby Starkle, 22, Montana. Todd Dorsey, 36, Queechee, Vermont. Tommy Byrne. I'd also like to recognize the people that are here tonight who are in recovery. For you are a beautiful example that this disease does not have to take you. And your light shines in the crowd tonight. And I pray for all of you that it will continue to shine. We pause now for a moment of silence to remember those whose names we read tonight, as well as those who have passed, whose names were not read aloud. Hold them close in your heart. Remember them as the vibrant, loving, amazing people they were. Allow their spirit to live through you. If their death saves one person, they will not have died in vain.
And now I'd like to close with the well-known Serenity Prayer. God, grant me grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.
You had enough at the bottom, looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough at the bottom, looking up. Then I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Please help me. Please help me. Would you really give it up if you had to give it up? Reached the point you had enough at the bottom, looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough at the bottom, looking up. Then I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Would you really give it up if you had to give it up? Reached the point you had enough at the bottom, looking up, all alone in the dark by myself. Time for me to give it up, I can feel it in my gut. Reached the point I had enough at the bottom, looking up. Then I reached out my arms and I asked for help. Please help me.
Thank you all again for coming tonight. It means a lot to so many people. Thank you.